so much for joining me. Today we are going to create a card. We're going to create 10 cards actually with the Spellbinders card kit of the month for August 2022. It's called Butterfly Sparkle. And before we get started, I always like to bring in something extra when I make my 10 cards, and today we're going to be using some vellum. I love the color tone of our pattern papers. There's blacks, and I just loved it, so I'm bringing in some vellum, and just to make the videos a little bit quicker, I already die cut out my vellum. Now, for the most part, I'm just using one die set, and it's this one here. This is the Spellbinders Romantic Slimline Borders. So if you see me using a border, this is the set that I'm using for all of my 10 cards. So I did cut out a strip already with vellum using this border in here. So I just thought it was really pretty, and I thought it would go really with the kind of soft feel of the card. These butterflies are what we created during the unboxing, and I'll link the unboxing at the end in case you missed it. We're going to go ahead, and I am a little bit late posting this. I've had some very tough news to deal with in my family, and so I debated on whether I should finish this or not, but sometimes when I get my kits, I kind of pre-design my cards and cut them, and I had it ready to go. I just hadn't had a chance to record. But I always like to have my channel too be a positive place for you guys to be, and I was afraid it was going to be a little bit too emotional. But I'm going to jump in, and my cards today are pretty simple, so I did want to share that with you. Later on, I'll be taking a little bit of a break to go deal with some family stuff, and then so I probably won't post as much as I normally do, but I will be back in the swing of things, I promise. But in the meantime, let's jump in and create some cards. I don't know if you guys can hear, but they are doing some construction in our backyard. And my craft room is just off of the backyard. So if you hear some electric tools, I apologize for that. A lot's going on with this month's card kit. But let's jump in and get started. I have a piece of the pattern paper. This has the notebook kind of style paper. I created a panel that's slightly smaller than my card base. We're going to take our tape runner and adhere this to the front of our card. All the card bases that I'm using today are the card bases that came with the kit. And we will secure this. Gosh, I hope that's not too loud, because it's very loud for me. Okay, I love this paper. Now I also have this piece of pattern paper, and we're going to secure this in the middle, and I'm going to center this on my panel. In our die cut pack, we have a tag, and I went ahead and put an eyelet, a black eyelet on my tag. I'm going to go ahead and thread that with some black twine. So I'm eventually going to tie a bow with this, but until then I'm going to stamp our sentiment right towards the upper portion of our tag. My sentiment says, by being yourself, you put something wonderful in the world that was not there before. I just think that's gorgeous. I'm going to ink it up with my black ink, and I'm going to stamp this towards the top center of my tag. I'll zoom in a little bit so you have a better view. And then again, I created a vellum border. The vellum that I'm using is from Spellbinders. It comes 25 in a pack, lots of it. Now this is not as thick as, I mentioned this before, this vellum is not as thick as the Journey vellum, but it die cuts beautifully. And I do have a 1/2 inch strip of that scripty black pattern paper. We're going to adhere this strip, and this is 4 inches wide, and I'm going to adhere this to my my border just so it's hanging over, and then I'm going to trim off the excess. I kept the border a little bit long because this way I can center it. I just love how soft that looks. Okay, we're going to flip this around. I'm going to add some adhesive on the back side, and then I'm going to place this about 1/2 inch from that pattern paper that we adhered in the middle. It's kind of hard to see, but in real life it's just really pretty. And I love how it kind of curls up a little bit actually. We're going to take our tag, and I'm going to layer this so it's overhanging this pattern paper up here. And then I'll just tie a bow at the top. And then I have my butterflies that we created with the dies in the kit this month. I did add foam adhesive behind here, and I'm going to add 2 to the left of our tag, and then that will finish off card number 1. I'm not going to add any bells or whistles because I kind of like the vintage feel of it. So we're going to move along to card number 2. For card number 2, I have that same printed black pattern paper. These are 1-inch strips by 5.5 inches. And then I have some of the gold mirror cardstock. Now I used the dotted border die and my die set that I mentioned earlier and put some dotted detail. Oops, we need to actually poke out a couple of these extra dots. And this measures, let's see, 2 inches wide. So 1-inch strips here, 2-inch wide here. The thing when you do left and right on your foil is if your plates are well loved or well used, it indents on your foil. I'm not worried about that because we're going to cover it up with this really pretty pattern paper. This is slightly smaller than 1 3/4 inches. I trimmed it on the inside of 1 3/4 because I wanted to see these dots. I'm going to adhere this to my gold cardstock right down the middle, and then I'll flip this around, and then I have some vellum borders again, and again all of my borders that I'm creating are from the Romantic Slimline border die set. So I cut 2 out, and then I'm going to go ahead and place some vellum on the left and the right. Pop it up. We're going to take our printed strips, and I'm going to add 1 a little bit over 1/4 inch on the left, and then I'll do the same to the right side. I'm going to go ahead and use my paper trimmer and trim off the excess. And you're probably asking, why is she recording this when I'm having some work done in my backyard? Well, it was kind of now or never. I have a flight scheduled for later this week, and so if I didn't get it done today, then I wasn't going to get it done for this month. So I apologize again for the construction that's going on in my backyard. Now we're going to flip over this panel, and I am going to add some foam adhesive behind here, and then this will be going right. I just think this is so pretty. This is going to go right down the center. And when you add your words, make sure that they're right side up. So many times I've flipped them around, but isn't that so pretty? I just love the elegance of this. I thought this would be perfect home for our 3D butterflies. There's pinks and blacks and taupes in here, but I wanted to, instead of using pink, I wanted my butterflies to stand out. So I'm going to use the blue butterflies that are in our sticker sheet. And we're just going to center them. Okay, so I evenly spaced my butterflies, and for my sentiment for this card, I chose one of the die cut pieces. This one says everything happens for a reason. And I'm going to add some foam adhesive behind here, and we'll layer this in between both of these butterflies. So it's kind of it's like the sentiments in this stamp set is like therapeutic because it kind of associates with what I'm going through right now. But there, I put this right in the middle. And we have some sequins in the kit, but they're a little bit on the bold side. And I'm just going to keep this soft, and I'm going to call this card good. So that will finish card number 2. For card number 3, I thought we would use the stamps that we have in our die cut pack. We get 2 of each, and we have 3 different styles. So I thought it'd be perfect for my next card. So making sure my card base opens the right way, I'm going to take this newspaper print pattern paper. It's slightly smaller than my card base. We're going to adhere this to the front of our card, and I'm making sure it's right side up. And then I have a piece of the black and white polka dot paper. This measures 3.5 inches wide by 4 3/4 inches tall. We're going to go ahead and layer this in the middle. Kind of matting it. Now I have a piece of vellum, and this vellum measures 3 inches wide by 4 1/4 inches tall. I think this is going to be a great place to put our stamps. I already put some foam adhesive behind our stamps, so I am going to just arrange them, kind of evenly space them on my vellum piece here. And this smile is the smile that I die cut. Our sentiment says smile often, that we can create with our dies this month, but I'm just going to use the smile. I'm going to go ahead and arrange all of my, let's see, all of my stamps so that they can fit over here beautifully. I might have to lift this up a little bit. Okay, now I'm going to take my vellum stamp panel. You can see I put foam adhesive behind here. I'm going to center this, and so it kind of looks like our little stamps are floating. Just love the way that looks. And then I'm going to take my smile, and I'm going to add a little bit of glue behind the letters here. And then I'm going to let the S overhang, add that to that bottom left stamp, and that will fit. Actually, do we want to add some twine? And I'm going to tie a bow towards the top. Let's trim the tail, and then that will finish off this card, number 3. Okay, for my next card, card number 4, I have some more of this printed paper, and we're going to make a landscape style card. So let's adhere this. When you cut this down to 4 inches by 5 1/4, make sure your print is going horizontal. We're going to go ahead and add this to our card base. And as I'm adding this, you can see my vellum border. I'm using that same border die set. And I just basically cut about a 2-inch strip of vellum, and then I flip-flopped my border. So I did one on the top, and then flipped it around, and then did one on the bottom. I think, even though you're only going to see the left and right of this, I thought it was really pretty. So I'm going to adhere this, and I'm going to add this. I'm going to add this about 1 inch up from the bottom, and then this is that ombre pattern paper. I have a thin strip. I'm going to add this right down the middle of my vellum. I wanted to bring in some pink to this card, after we have this done, I have a piece of cardstock. This measures, usually I have my measurements already, so forgive me, I'm breaking out my ruler. This is 3 3/4 inches wide by 2.5 inches tall. I thought we would do some stamping with a beautiful dandelion that's in our stamp, and then our sentiment too. In our stamp set, the sentiment says, "You have everything you need to make your dreams come true." It's so pretty. I think it goes really well with our dandelion. So I'm going to stamp this, and I'm going to use my black ink. I'll just ink this up really good, and I'm going to stamp towards the left. And it did overhang it. Gosh, that's so pretty. Okay, and then we'll stamp our sentiment while we're at it. And this will fit down here. And I think that looks really pretty. While we have our ink out, I'm going to take a piece of vellum, and we're going to stamp the butterfly that's in our stamp set. We're going to stamp it, we'll stamp it a couple times. But I'm going to tone it down with some clear embossing powder, because this is, I can continue on with the video, and I'm going to go ahead and melt the embossing powder. It's going to make it nice and shiny too. Now, after we have our butterflies heat embossed, I'm going to use my scissors, and I'm going to fussy cut my butterflies here. We have our butterflies fussy cut, and then what we're going to do is, I'm thinking 3 might be too many, so I'm going to put these aside. We'll put these on another card, but I just want to add 1 over here, but I do want to add some pink. So I'm going to use my Copic marker. This is R85, and I'm going to add a little bit of color to my butterfly. And of course, if you don't want to do this, you can always use your 3D butterflies, but I think these were just a little bit too big for what I wanted to do. So I added some pink. This is going to make the pink in our background pop. And then I'm going to add a little bit of adhesive, fold up those wings, and then I'm just going to tack this here. I think that looks really pretty. Okay, I have some gold mirror cardstock that's a little bit larger than my panel, and I'm going to flip this around. We're going to add some adhesive behind here. I'm going to add this. My butterfly flattened. Of course, if you mail this, your butterfly is going to flatten too. But I'm going to mat this on my gold mirror. I put some black foam behind my gold mirror cardstock, and then we're going to go ahead and layer this in the center of our card. And that will finish off that card. For my next card, I thought we would put our vellum butterflies to good use. So I have more of that rosy black pattern paper. This is 4 inches by 5 1/4. We're going to take this panel and adhere it to our card base. This card's going to be really easy. Once this is centered, I have our, I have some fun foam to pop it up with, but this is from our die cut pack. We actually have 2 of these. I'm going to round the corners of this here on the very top. I'm using my corner rounder. This is the 1/4 inch side. And then I'm going to round the corners from my vellum that is slightly larger than my die cut. And then we'll go ahead and adhere this to our vellum. We'll just center it. And then we're going to take our die cut, place this in the center, and then we're going to do the same thing with what we did with our previous card, but this time I'm going to use my R81 marker. It's like a softer rosy pink, And I'm going to add a little bit of color, and I'm going to put one on the top here, and then we'll put one on the bottom so they're fluttering over those flowers, and then that will finish that card. Pretty simple card. For my next card, I have that vellum, and I used that border on the very bottom of my vellum. So this vellum measures 2.5 inches wide, and then with the border it's 4 inches tall. And then I also have that gold embossed cardstock that has the stars on it. Again, this panel measures 4 inches by 5 1/4, so it's going to leave me a little bit of a white border on my card base. And then I have the sentiment in our stamp set, and it's the one that says happy birthday. Let's stamp this on some white cardstock with black ink. And then I have some of that ombre pattern paper in our 6x6 paper pad. I cut down a thin strip of this. This way I can add it to the very bottom of my sentiment. And I kind of skipped a couple colors because I wanted a color that was the same as the wings on our little kitty cat. Okay, once we have this adhered, I'm going to add adhesive behind it. I'm going to take my vellum, center it, and then I'm going to go just above my border here, and I'm going to tack that down. That way I can lift it up. Now while I have this centered, I'm going to take my kitty cat and we're going to add some foam adhesive behind it. While I am away visiting my family, I have more videos for you guys, so I'm not gone completely. I have them kind of on what I like to call autopilot. That way you guys don't miss out. So there is our popped up kitty, and then I have our little dreamer little note card. I'm going to add some adhesive behind here, and I'm going to tuck that underneath my sentiment and my kitty cat here so I can see the word dreamer. I like doing this on vellum because now what I can do is flip it around, and all the areas that my die cuts are on I can add foam tape to, and then we can create a light and airy card. Okay, I put foam adhesive behind the areas that you can't see. We're going to place our sentiment down on the front of our card base. And then I do want to add a few stars from our glitter sticker sheet. And that will finish that card. Fun birthday card. For my next card, I'm using this beautiful like starburst pink pattern paper. Now when I cut this down, of course we have a 6x6 page. I cut some off from the left, some off from the right, and then top and the bottom, just so I get the starburst towards the top and centered. I'm going to go ahead and flip this around, and we're going to adhere this. After we have this adhered, we're going to do a triple mat. I trimmed this down. This is actually from one of our die cuts. It looks like a journaling card, but I trimmed it away around the center here. We're going to take this and adhere it to some gold mirror cardstock. And then I'll take the gold mirror cardstock and we're going to adhere this to our vellum, doing a triple mat. Just love how soft that looks. And then I'm going to flip this around and we're going to add some foam adhesive behind here. This is going to go in the center of our card, a little bit more towards the top. And then I'm going to use the stars that we created during our unboxing, and then I also have a few extra. These are actually made with the blue cardstock. If you want to switch these out and use the black cardstock, you could. And I have some die cut stars too. The ones that we created, I'm going to pop up with foam adhesive, and then the others, we're going to directly adhere to our card. So let's kind of add these around our sentiment. And we're going to keep it simple, and that will finish off that card. My next card, we're going to again keep it simple, and I think it is probably my favorite paper in the pack. So I did trim this down, so it was 4 inches by 5 1/4, and then I have a 1 1/4 inch strip of the pink polka dot paper. I'm going to take this strip, add some adhesive behind it, and then I'm going to add some of our newspaper print. It's about a 1/2 inch strip. I want about 1/4 inch showing on this. This is going to be long. But that's okay. We're going to layer it on the top here. Now I'm going to flip this over, add some more adhesive on that newspaper print, and then I created a vellum border with one of those border dies. We are going to make sure this is centered. And then I'm going to flip this over, add a little more adhesive, and then we're pretty loaded. Then we can line this up on the very top. And then I'll just use my scissors and trim off the excess. Okay, we're going to take this panel that we created. Doesn't that vellum just create a real soft look? I just love that. Break out the vellum. And the vellum and my dies that I'm using today will be linked down below. But we'll put this in the center of our card base. And then in the die cut pack, we have this beautiful like doily. I put one of the chipboard circles that says "Today is your day" right in the center of that. I thought this would go perfect off to the left. I did pop it up with some foam adhesive, but it's a pretty simple card, but I just think that's, you want to make sure that your sentiment is straight, of course. But we're going to adhere that. I think I'm just going to leave it like this. I kind of like the simplicity of this. So that will finish that card. Okay, for my next card, we're going to layer 3 different pattern papers together. I have the black and white polka dot, the pink polka dot, and my scripty, which was upside down. Let's go ahead and layer all 3 of these together. And I created a border again with my vellum using the same dies. And then I have a 1/4 inch strip of my gold mirror cardstock here. And then I'm going to add my vellum. The nice thing about the vellum is you can use I have a dot liner, so you can't see the tape runner, which is really nice. This is going to go just above my black pattern paper. You can barely see that overlapping on my pink, which is really nice. And I will trim off the excess here. And then in my die cut pack, we have our pretty owl. There's the little stars on there. I'm going to add this to the right side. What I did was put some foam adhesive behind my owl. I like adding foam adhesive behind the chipboard stickers because it's really easy. You just, since it's already sticky, you just add your pop-up fun foam. Okay, now after we have our owl, there's a moon that is in our die cut pack. I'm going to add this. I'm not going to press down too well with the moon just yet because I'm going to add a sentiment that says wish from our sticker pack. Kind of don't want the same size next to each other, so we're going to spread it out. I think that looks really good. And then that will finish off that card. For my final card today, I have some of this really pretty pattern paper, some of the newspaper print. We'll start off with our newspaper print, and we're going to adhere this. And then I have some of this really pretty pattern paper. I think that's going to work out great. And then I'm going to add this to our card base, and we're going to leave, we'll trim away the excess. And then I have a scrap piece of paper that's about a 1/2 inch wide of our black and white pattern. I just fishtailed the very bottom of this in the middle of our pattern paper, kind of evenly spacing it from left to right. And then I have our chipboard sentiment. I did pop this up with some foam adhesive. We're going to put this in the middle of our banner here. I have the little bird from our die cut pack. I'm going to add some foam adhesive behind here. I'm going to add some adhesive behind here. And we're going to do a little tucking here. Lovely. And then that will finish off that card. Kind of a real soft card, but has a real pretty sentiment in here. Okay, so these are all 10 cards that we made today with the Spellbinders card kit of the month for August 2022. It's called Butterfly Sparkle. So pretty. I'm going to go ahead and share these cards, and if you guys want to see close-up pictures, you can head on over to my blog. That link's down below. But there's our first card. I may go out of order, forgive me, but there's our beautiful butterfly card. We have our stamp card. We have our Let Your Dreams Be Your Wings. So pretty. I love these colors. And then we have our birthday card. And then we have, that almost looks Halloweenish. We have our inspirational card with our stars. We have our simple Today is Your Day. We have our little wish card. And we have our, love this one, how this is the simplicity of this one too. These will make a nice note card set. And then we have our final card that we created today. So these are all 10 cards that we made with Spellbinders August kit. If you guys are new and want to check that kit out, the link is down below. But thank you for your patience with me. I will wish you a lovely day, and we will see you soon. Bye-bye.